So this is a surprise, and especially for fans of the band, this is going to be kind of unexpected. So for people who don't know who Glamour the Kill are, they came about in probably around 2006, 2007 type era. They released an EP, and I was still in high school, so I remember hearing of it. I was in probably year 10 or maybe even 11. So I was still just a teen, in my mid-teens, and the EP, you had great vocals, it was really catchy, it was kind of pop rock kind of sound, so it was just really upbeat, really fun, and as a teenager it's kind of what you kind of want, just some kind of really fun, catchy stuff. And they had some pretty interesting riffs. I think there was a solo here and there, but not on every single track. But for me, it was pretty damn good. The first album was called The Summoning. That came out, I believe, when I hit college. So when I was probably around the age of 16, 17, that album came out. And you kind of got a similar type of thing that was with the EP. You got solos here and there, but not on every single track. But because it was a full-length album, you did obviously get more solos than that of the EP. The singing is still very open. His voice is very, very kind of bright and kind of a style similar to Craig Mabbitt of Escape the Fate, Matt Tuck, that kind of bright tone, nothing, beefy and aggressive. They had screaming here and there sprinkled throughout the album, but it's not done by the lead singer, it was done by guitarist, one of the guitarists. So that's the only way they managed to scream, so it gave it some subtleties, but it still followed in line of kind of pop rock / metal. Great riffs here and there, can be catchy at points, and then you got some pretty decent solos here and there also. Pretty fun album, and I did enjoy it when it came out. The next album they did, the second album, was called Savages. Now, this came out a few years later, in around the year 2013, I think, that album came out. And it changed it up a bit. His vocal, the album was a bit more diverse, for one. So the first track was a lot more heavier. He kind of growled his voice, the lead singer, trying to give it a bit more of an edgy kind of feel. It wasn't unbelievably amazing doing that, because his voice is so kind of bright and innocent. So him trying to give a bit more of a oomph to it didn't work completely, but it was nice to just see something different, I guess. I'll give him that. There was a lot more solos in that album, and they were definitely a lot better than the previous album. So the solos and the guitar work definitely improved. And you got, obviously, the first track, Break, was a very straightforward, fast-paced metal track with some pretty quick riffage going on. And then you got other tracks that was more in line with their early work, kind of pop rock, very open, very catchy, soaring choruses. And then you got some other things which were a bit more kind of punk rock in nature as well, and then some more kind of proper metal. And the album Savages, I think they completely took out all the screams. I don't think there was any screams on the album Savages. And the album was overall an improvement, but still, as far as song structure goes, it's a very simple structure. You just kind of get your intro, your verse, the chorus, verse, chorus, maybe a solo or maybe not, and then just end on the chorus. So very simplistic in nature, but as I said, their riffs are usually very good in the way they make it up, or technical, and if it's not technical, it's got a very good kind of groove to it. The vocals, I said, are very good. He does kind of do as much range as possible here and there. and the solos are good when they come in. So decent, but could be better. After that, they released an EP, which I think I only kind of touched on once, and it was a lot more grittier than the previous work. The singer definitely was trying to take on more of a macho kind of vibe and make it a bit darker. So I try and take out that kind of pop rock fun stuff that they've been doing and try and mature into a more kind of aggressive style. It was a bit weird, as I say, because his voice isn't really that. It's a Matt Tuck, Craig Mabbitt kind of style, so trying to sound something like Andy Biersack from Black Veil Brides or David Draymond, and just a more aggressive kind of booming voice doesn't really work when your voice is too bright. But it was a change, so obviously music should kind of keep changing, not keep repeating the same things. So I will give them that. They are trying something new, and that is what they should be doing. But after that, they split up. Glamour of the Kill decided to call it quits for the reason that they couldn't afford tours, and they just had no money. They had no money to make an album or to even tour. So they split up in 2015, I believe. And in 2018, as you can clearly tell, they're back with they're doing tours in the UK. They're a UK band, so they're doing tours. I think they're also reaching down near Paris as well, and they've released a single called Firefight, and they're releasing another album, and this is a song off that album, I believe. So for all the fans of this band, I'm pretty sure this is unexpected, but a great thing to see. And I was also a fan of this band, so I'm glad to see them back again. So getting into Firefight, the whole purpose of this review is to review the single. It starts out basically just chants. I would probably say kind of in line with Bullet for My Valentine type of deal. They just kind of keep doing the kind of gang vocals of the whole band and just saying fight fire with fire, break free from something, and they kind of just kind of all sing that together. Nothing really underneath it, which is kind of a Bullet type of thing. Then you get a really cool riff. It definitely has a great kind of groove to it. I don't know if it's really that technical. It does sound pretty damn cool though. And the backing bands, it kind of dissipates, but when they kind of come in, the drums kind of are galloping quite quickly, as well as the rhythm guitar and the bass, giving it a very thick sound. But because they kind of keep fading here and there, and you just kind of get the lead, it just kind of gives you a real big kind of punch whenever they come in, and then they disappear. So that's kind of cool. The gang vocals kind of keep going for a while, and then they disappear, and you just get the really cool riff along with that kind of punching backing band under the lead guitarist, just hit here and there, just coming in, giving a few punches. Before the singer actually comes in, they do the typical thing of the sound kind of opens up a lot, and you get some simple taps. The lead guitarist does a pull on the whammy, maybe a bend, and then the singer comes in. The singer again is doing what basically they kind of were going in. He's really pushing his voice, trying to give it as much aggression as possibly can. I still would say he's in line with still kind of singing, but he is kind of pushing it, because he's pushing it so hard, tone-wise, maybe a bit much, because obviously it's not really his tone and something he's not very good at. So you can still hear him in it, and he still has the kind of light openness of his voice, but that kind of aggression part, it's walking a fine line of just going too far to just be not really singing properly. So I think that may be down to opinion, where some people may think his voice doesn't sound good and some people say it's all right. But the rest of the band, obviously, because they kind of go with more aggression, it's a very fast-paced verse. The band's going quite quickly. It's a thick sound. The chorus, the band still kind of goes at a fast pace, but the lead singer actually does open up into his actual proper voice without trying to push any type of aggression and try and do something which is not really his voice. So it goes a lot more open, but it sounds kind of weird with the rest of the band, so I guess that's why he is trying to go kind of heavier, because the band being so kind of heavy and thick and sounding fast-paced, and then his voice over the top being so bright, it's a little odd, but it is nice to kind of hear his better side of the voice, and I do like how heavy it is, but I do think for the chorus they probably should have opened it up a bit more, just a tad, just to give it a bit more of a kind of grandiose kind of sound, a bit more openness to it, instead of it just being the lead singer. But as the chorus kind of shifts out, it goes back into that really cool riff that kind of started the song out with the chanting gang vocals of "Fight Fire with Fire" type of thing. And again, the riff is just amazing. It's great hearing that cool riff. Then you get back into the second verse, which is pretty much exactly the same as the first verse. Very quick playing and everything. I'd probably say quite technical, probably as well, because it does sound quite quick and doing a fair bit. And then the aggressive kind of vocals back into the chorus, which is still going at a relatively decent speed. They slow it down a little bit, and then the voice obviously goes into his typical more open sounding voice, which, as I say, it's a very good voice of his, but it is kind of poppy because it is so kind of bright. But I like it. Then we get the solo. Now, the solo here actually lasts a fair decent while. He starts out with doing some blistering shred on the guitar. It is really quick. He doesn't do it overly too long, because as any good guitarist would know, you don't just blow out speed and just be that is it, because just shredding constantly, it's a very kind of similar-ish sound to just shredding down at the bottom of the neck and shredding at the top of the neck. It's still very quickly, and it's hard to really kind of grasp what's happening. So he does do some shred, he does kind of move it around a bit, but then he does kind of slow down into a bit of a groove, just to give it a bit of a break for a while. Then he goes back into the shred in a different kind of area because it sounds different. Does that for a bit. Then he comes out and it goes into more of a groove. So the rest of the solo, it's just got a real good groove on it. There's bends, slides. I think he finishes on the whammy that brings it back into the vocals. So a fair bit to the solo, does last a fair good while, a proper length solo for me, instead of it being just short and over and done with. Good length, good variety. You got the speed, and you got the break from the speed back to the speed. That's the way you should do speed. Then he's got the nice groove just to give it a completely different dimension to just this is a fast solo and that is it. So great solo. I really like the solo. And as he kind of comes out, I think it goes back into that amazing riff, but the gang vocals aren't there. It's just a more heightened version of the riff. It sounds amazing. It's a very powerful riff. And yeah, back into the chorus, you get the gang vocals back, and then as the band starts leaving with the fade out, it's different to how the song kind of enters. So the outro is something new. There's the lead guitarist is doing a lot of holds, holding fade sounds. So the band's going, but the lead guitarist is doing a lot of just holds and everything. Then it just kind of goes into chugging just to kind of finish it off. And that is pretty much it for the song. So the song's 4 minutes 37, not an overly long song, but longer than some other bands, which you get around 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So 4:37 is pretty decent. So People who I've seen comment on the music video for this song is saying this is what Bullet for My Valentine used to be. And it's good that Glamour the Kill are taking that, seeing that Bullet for My Valentine is doing the likes of Gravity. So people are kind of happy that they're getting a Bullet for My Valentine type of deal with this. And I would agree to an extent. I don't think it's early Bullet like Poison, Scream, Aim, Fire, because in their songs they had structure, unlike this song, which doesn't really have structure. If you take a song like Hearts Burst into Fire, it's got a bit more, or Disappear, Say Goodnight. There's a lot to them songs, as well as Tears Don't Fall. I would say this is kind of in line with the title track Scream, Aim, Fire, or Eye of the Storm. This is more in line with that. So I would say Firefight is in between the album Fever as well as Scream, Aim, and Fire. It sits in the middle. Fever, the structure was very basic, but they took the solos out. As for in this, the solo is there, and it's a lot better than what them two were usually even capable of. So you got that, but it is a basic structure. But it's also very quick and very fast-paced with some great riffs, like in Scream, Aim, Fire. If they had more structure to it, it would be kind of in line with Scream, Aim, Fire, but it isn't. It's just a very kind of simple song structurally. Putting a score on this, I would go with a 7. Now, if you think 7 is kind of low and it should be an 8 or a 9 or something, you got to understand 5 is in the middle, so 5 is like, it doesn't do anything to irritate me or annoy me, but it doesn't do anything for me either. It's just kind of meh. And then if I were to give it a 6, it would be, it kind of has things going for it, but this is a 7, so it has a fair bit going for it. There is a lot of things going for it. You got good vocals, you got great riffs. It's heavy and it's quick. It's got a great solo, but there's no real structure to it, and there's no real kind of uniqueness in the way of sound and tone to it. It's just a metal song, which is pretty well sung, got great playing from the musicians, and has a really good solo. So 7 is good. So that is it for Glamour the Kill. If you don't know them, I would check them out. They have done some pretty cool stuff. And obviously they've struggled so far, so obviously if you do like them, it will help them out, because they clearly desperately need some help. Because it would be disappointing to see a band that actually do have talent and actually do properly sing disappear again, because we don't get many of them. So until they release another single or the album, this will be it for Glamour of the Kill until then. So hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.